Live. Hello, my friends. Good afternoon. Coming to you with a cool attitude this Sunday afternoon. It's really, really sunny and quite hot here in Costa Rica. After we had a bit of a reprieve from the April heat with some rain about a week ago, we are back into wall-to-wall sun, hashtag never not summer here in the Tamarindo area of Guanacaste, Costa Rica. So I'm coming to you guys live on my Instagram. I am also coming to you live on the Rythmia Facebook page, as well as many other avenues to talk to you about some stuff. As you can guess, the theme of today's talk is about shopping smarter. I love to shop. But today we're going to focus specifically on shopping for food and ingredients, because this is a quandary question that I get from people all the time, whether here at Rythmia or people messaging me on social media asking me how I shop and what I recommend as far as, you know, how to look for the best ingredients. If you guys are hopping on, please let me know where you're watching from. Unfortunately, I can't see my Instagram, obviously, because the phone is on the other side of the room. But you guys feel free to chime in and let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching me on any of the other streaming platforms, please let me know in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Who is tuning in? Dear friends, dear family, far and wide. Today is Sunday, and we have just had a whole full week of guests here at Rythmia, and we are busy checking in and welcoming another big group. So we were sold out last week. We're close to capacity again this week, and the week after that we are sold out once more. So we are getting the occupancy here is filling up. So if you have interest in joining us anytime in the next year, you should probably call the 1-866 number and find out when you can come. We anticipate being really sold out very, very soon for the next 6 months to a year. If there was ever a time in the world that we needed plant medicine and all of these kind of healing modalities that we offer at Rythmia, it's here, it's now, it's right now, after what the whole world has been going through and continues to go through. So friends, please let me know where you're watching from. I'm going to get right into the chat here today. So I'm talking about shop. So a couple of things that we can mention when we talk about how to shop smarter. I made a post on Instagram the other day about the farmer's market, yesterday, saying if you have a farmer's market nearby, it's the season, 'tis the season to start getting there weekly, if possible, to select seasonal, local produce to be basing your meals around for the week. It's so important for not only the carbon footprint of the ingredients that we're using, but also for the nutritional value. Think about what kind of nutrition you're getting from a cucumber that was grown from a farmer within 100 miles of your home versus a cucumber that was shipped in from California, say, if you live up in Toronto, right? So there's a lot of time and space happening between when that cucumber is harvested and when it gets to your table at home. So it's really important to support farmers. It's also really important to just support small local businesses, especially in this world of mass agriculture and whatnot. So if you have a farmer's market around, please start hitting it up, and maybe use it as an exercise every week in exploring a new ingredient, which is something that I like to do here. We have an amazing farmer's market in Tamarindo that I love to use, and it's always interesting to me because I've only been in Costa Rica for 8 years, and I'm always seeing new products, new fruits that I've never seen before, which is really, really cool. So I have a question for you, Stefan. I'm seeing Gerard Powell's live studio, so I'm not sure. I'm not getting any comments. Do you think we have maybe the wrong one called up here over for me to look at? We have a new system that I'm not really fully familiar with. So I just want to make sure that if you guys are commenting that I'm catching it. Dun, 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 dun. So farmers market, number one, the best place that you guys can get inspiration for new fruits and vegetables. The next thing I want to talk about is if you are going to a grocery store, which is what most of us are doing for shopping these days, especially within a pandemic, because I know a lot of towns and villages and cities, there still aren't going to be farmers markets for the time being because of the collection of people that entails. So that means you're shopping at grocery stores, and that is perfectly A-okay and fine, obviously. There's a couple of things you can remember when you're shopping at grocery stores is make sure that you bring a list. Levi, partner of mine, love of my life, I'm talking to you. Don't forget that list at home. For a number of reasons. Number one is if you have a meal plan, an idea of what you want to cook for yourself for the week, if you write down a list of all the ingredients you're going to need before you get to the grocery store, you're going to be less apt to forget one important ingredient, right? How many times have you decided, I'm going to do pasta with a spinach salad on the side for dinner? You get to the grocery store, you shop, you get home, and you forgot the actual pasta or the tomato sauce or whatever, right? So making a list obviously is number one key. And it's also going to help you curb your spending if you really stick to that list, which is an issue I have at the grocery store. If I don't come with a list, I end up spending far more money than I need to because I get really excited about ingredients. And the next thing I can recommend about going to the grocery store is try to stick to the outer perimeter of the grocery store as much as possible. You may have heard this already. I'm going to tell you again. If you want to focus on more ingredients that are not processed, that are more whole foods based, sticking to the outer perimeter of the grocery store. So that means the produce aisles, right? Which are always at one end of the grocery store. Very rarely are you going to come to a grocery store where the produce is in the middle of the grocery store, right? These mega grocery store chains have studied and figured out what is the best way to layer, and for whatever reason, it's proven that produce is usually at one end or the other. Then along the sides and the back, you have things like your dairy aisle, your frozen foods, and your meats and poultries and things like that, as well as your butcher and deli and things. So if you can stick to those outer perimeters, you're going to end up with a lot more whole foods, less processed packaged foods, right? Obviously, you're going to have to go through the aisles, forget certain things. If you're going to buy canned organic beans, buying things like canned coconut milk, if you're going to be buying like gluten-free pasta, things like that, which are great, easy ingredients, you can do that, obviously. So the next thing I want to start talking to you guys about briefly here is just the... It's on YouTube, but it's not on Facebook. Oh! So we can cross-post afterwards. Amazing. So the other thing that I want to talk to you guys here about is the labels, right? So I get a lot of questions about labels. So what matters, what doesn't, what's actually accurate, what's not. And, you know, there are a lot of labels out there, different things that manufacturers claim that their food possesses or does not possess in its ingredients. Things like low-fat, sugar-free, low-calorie. I urge you to just put anything with those labels back on the shelf. Because anytime a food is claiming to be free of anything like that, calories, fat, sugar, that means that whatever has been removed, whether it be fat, sugar, or calories, they have been replaced with probably highly chemical synthetic versions of the other micronutrients. So if you're reducing a fat in a food, what you're typically going to be doing is pumping higher levels in of the other two macronutrients, which is protein and carbohydrates. And often those protein and carbohydrates are going to come from a highly synthetic version of the ingredients to try to manipulate the food into tasting like it still has fat and still having the texture that it still has fat. So these foods are a big, no thank you. Even if you think that you need to be following a low-fat diet, which you probably don't, because fat is so important for our brain and our body and all of our hormonal function. So please, unless you have very specific medical reasons, following a 100% low-fat diet where you're buying packaged food that is low-fat, please, just don't buy the packaged foods. You can still follow a low-fat diet without buying the packaged foods that that claim to be low-fat or low-calorie or low sugar, for that matter. Low sugar or sugar-free typically means that they're pumping it full of artificial sugars, which are just proven to be like messing up your neural function. They're chemicals. They are toxic to the body, and there have been a lot of studies, but definitely more studies need to be done on all of these sweeteners because they are wreak so much havoc on the human body. So if you can eliminate those from your diet, that would be highly, highly beneficial. So we can look at other labels, things like, for example, conventional. Is food ever actually labeled conventional? No, but conventional is anything that's not organic, really. I don't often see conventional, but also known as industrial agriculture, right? Conventional food is typically stuff that has been treated with synthetic pesticides or monocropping or all of these different ways that food is produced in mass production. When you're looking at conventional, it's usually conventional versus organic is what we're talking about. So things are often not labeled conventional, but you can figure out that things are conventional by a couple of means. Produce, for example, conventional produce is going to have, when you look at the piece of produce on the little sticker with the code, it's going to be a 4-digit code, typically I think starting with a 3 or a 4. So bananas, for example, a conventional banana is 4011. Whereas an organic vegetable or fruit is going to have I think it's a 9-digit code. I can't remember the specific numbers, but you can figure that out pretty quickly by just looking at that. Most grocery stores, if they're selling organic, they're going to be very, openly and blatantly advertising as such. So what does organic mean? Organic means, depending on where you're looking at, and I'm focusing mostly on the US here because I know most viewers are from the US, is when it's organic means that it is refraining from the use of any prohibited pesticides, that it is non-genetically modified, that the farmers are using very beautiful, good agriculture processes that is supporting the soil, manure management, and all that stuff. They're refraining from antibiotics and hormone use. If you're organic animal products, that they're being fed organic feed, all of that type of stuff. So there's a couple different organic labels that you might see out there as well. Now, if the ingredients in a food, in a packaged food, is 95 to 100% organic, it can be labeled as organic. If a food has between 70 to 95% organic ingredients, then that's when you might see things like organic ingredients on the label. If a food has less than 70% organic ingredients, all that those foods can do is label the ingredients as such on the side panel, i.e. in the ingredient list. So you can look through some food might not be labeled organic on the front, but when you look at the ingredient list on the side, you might see specific ingredients labeled as organic. Now, speaking about that, further to the labels, what I think is more important than looking at the front label of any food, really, is looking at that ingredient list and looking to see if you can pronounce those ingredients first and foremost. And if you can't, it probably means that it's synthetic or chemical and you don't want that in your body anyway. Or the dirtiest conventional products and the cleanest products. So then you can really start to discern what ingredients you want to buy organic and which ones you do not. So the dirty buy organic if possible and if you can afford it.